Welcome back this Sunday morning to another edition of the Clash Royale League West 2020 Spring Split. If you were here yesterday, you saw that we're never going to be out of surprises here in CRL for this spring season, and I bet we're today. Hello and welcome. I'm Rich Slayton. Joining me as always, my friend Andrew Guy to talk you through the action here for our CRL 2020 season. We're having a great time so far, and yesterday was wild. Today we have elite teams all trying to make their way to catch up to the middle seeds for this season.
Yeah, man, this is a premier card today here on Sunday, so make sure you guys are subscribed on YouTube. Make sure you have turned on those notifications. It's the best way to find us every single weekend, Saturday and Sunday mornings, 10 a.m. on the West, 1 p.m. on the East. Turn on those notifications so you are alerted when we go live. Also, you can follow us on Twitter. That's a great place to find all the other information out there. All the great Clash Royale competitive news is up on @Esports Royale EN. You can also follow along with Rich @Rich Slayton. You can follow me @Andrew Guy. Today I've got a poll up as well, and the poll is actually pretty tight here in the first matchup. I'm excited to talk about that in a little bit. And last thing that I got to get out of business is about that 1,000 gems. How close are you? How close is your 4 squad to the very, very top? You can set your lineup starting on Tuesdays. You got to get them set by Saturday morning before we go live. And remember, it's the 4 players with the most crowns at the end of the season will get you that 1,000 gems. I forgot to save my lineup, even though I said it yesterday morning. So I'm not doing too well this week.
I had an all right start to the week, and we'll see as we go through today if that continues on, Andrew. And today's going to be a big one. Start off with Team Liquid versus Tribe Gaming. Liquid at 1-1, and talking about fantasy, Egor with that clean 5-game run in their last match out, up against currently 1-0 Tribe Gaming. And then SK later looking to get their first win, 0-2 right now in a must-win situation against the team Queso that is currently 0-1 as well. So the 4 teams that were thought of as the 4 favorites all sort of in a weird limbo at the moment at this stage in the group.
Yeah, completely. I mean, because Tribe came out so strong, but they've just been kind of hanging back for the last couple of weeks. So we'll see how they come out today and if they're ready to go once again with that dominance that we saw in their very first match. But those other 3 squads you're talking about, Rich, they haven't won a 2 yet. Between SK, Liquid, and Queso, they've dropped that first set in all of their matches, all of them combined. So I know we talk about the importance of 2v2 a lot, but it does seem like today, one of those squads, if they want to win, has to pick up that set. It seems to kind of be their Achilles heel so far moving through this first half of the season. We're halfway done through the season, man.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. We'll see if they switch things up a little bit, Andrew. And
yeah,
first up today, Team Liquid and Tribe Gaming, the defending world champions, against the roster that everyone has high expectations for, all the biggest off-season signings for Tribe Gaming. We'll look at that for just a moment. But first, let's take a look at the roster for the defending world champions, Team Liquid.
Team Liquid here coming out with Diego B, Egor, Canario, and Surgical Goblin. We've been seeing a bit of change up in their 2v2 lineup from the last season up through this season, up till, their last match. I'm curious to see what's going to happen there. Egor, however, has been a stunner in the 1v1 head-to-head set. I can't imagine they'll change that up. And to talk about those polls, people still have Tribe Gaming taking out Team Liquid, even though they are the defending world champions. Let's talk about Tribe.
Yeah, they definitely have a high-powered roster, but it'll be hard to get past the stunning Egor. But if any team can do it, this is the one. Azeles and Buffmac, the 2v2 duo for the match, and they looked phenomenal in their first outing. Jupiter King, who's been great throughout his pro career thus far, brilliant at No Tilt League Special Edition, brilliant so far here, and they haven't needed TNT yet. They've only played one match, was a clean 4-0 in games. We'll see if he gets in the mix, but every single player here is top tier in every phase of the game. 2v2, 1v1, and King of the Hill. This is a truly versatile lineup, Andrew, and we'll see if they can live up to the expectations that Tribe Gaming has set for them and the entire Team Tribe community.
Yeah, I can't imagine that the other 8 teams that aren't or that are watching right now do not want to see. I mean, they want to see some sort of weakness in Tribe because, as you said, they went 4-0 in their game. So look at this, changing things up to what used to work. Canario and Surgical Goblin coming out for Team Liquid with a tornado ban, and on the other side of it, no surprise here, Azilius and Buff coming back out with a giant skeleton ban. This is really, really interesting. I mean, we saw how well this duo did for Team Liquid, but then it felt like a crime to not have Surgical Goblin available for 1v1 sets. I like this shift back though, Rich. How you feeling?
I like it a lot. Let's go ahead and jump into game number 1. And one of the big additions, Andrew, that creates some more freedom for that is in the past, they were really operating with a 3-man roster with Canario, Surgical Goblin, and Diego B. Now they have Egor. Egor can beat anybody in a best-of-3 set. Leave Egor in there, and it gives you a lot of flexibility. And this 2v2 duo, don't forget, you mentioned they had success back in the spring season of 2019. They went on a 5-set win streak. There were 5 matches in a row where, in fact, these 2 players for Liquid won the matches entirely by themselves between 2v2 and King of the Hill.
Yeah, they were a 2-man wrecking crew because, you know, people up in King of the Hill, and then they'd run the gamut between the 2 of them. So right now, though, Buffmac and Azilius off to a very, very strong start with this, as we used to call the stinky cheese deck, but now here in 2v2, they have over a 1200 HP lead already, and we're just in a minute of play.
I gotta say, Andrew, I am thoroughly shocked to be seeing Elixir Golem here in 2v2. We saw it in No Tilt Worlds a fair bit. Before Elixir Golem and Battle Healer were both nerfed, and this deck had 0 success at No Tilt Worlds. It was an absolute disaster when it came out. I am really surprised to see Elixir Golem in 2v2 with as much troop DPS and as quickly you can get Elixir Golems off the board.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, you know, the elixir flows a little more slowly, and that 4 elixir swing when you take a unit out can be devastating here in 2v2, but, you know, Buffmac and Azilius clearly have some idea behind this deck, and let's see if it pays off. They're going to take that bomb drop on the right-hand side, for sure.
Huge connection right-hand side, so Elixir Golems in both lanes, and, you know, maybe the reduction in popularity in Bomb Tower having an effect here. We're seeing Battle Healers on both sides. This is an absolute swarm, and Liquid really has no elixir to defend here in this first couple of minutes.
Yeah, no elixir to defend, and right now they are going to town on that King Tower. Even though they were able to get that elixir from taking elixir golems off the board, it didn't matter. They were supported so much from behind that they are having a ton of trouble coming back. 486 on King, Rich.
3 battle healers.
Wow.
I mean, that's a huge issue.
Yep.
Fireball, log, and you know, if Elixir Golem's going to win, I guess it's going to be doing it quick. 3 crowns down. I hope you picked up Buffmac or Azilius for your fantasy squad because that is a huge opening game. And now we've seen Elixir Golem work in 2v2. Andrew, I have seen everything.
But what we haven't seen is Tribe even stumble a little bit, even a slight misstep. They have been unstoppable through 5 games now, and they just took one of the best 2v2, one of the premier 2v2 duos off the board in Canario and Surgical Goblin. Yes, they clearly have 2 more games in this set maximum, but that was an incredible display of not only patience, but also they made sure to never Elixir Golem to dump Elixir into their opponent's reserves.
Yeah, the split lane there for that second push was so oppressive. You had Elixir Golem Battle Healer in both lanes, Inferno Dragon in one, Baby in the other. And I know, Andrew, I would, if we can go back and look at the end, I think we're going to go and look at the end of these moments again. You see the Royal Delivery that's going to come in doesn't get the Inferno Dragon off the King Tower, and I think that's where the bulk of that final chunk of damage might have come in.
Yeah, I mean, the Inferno Dragon play in this game was actually very, very nice by Azilius and Buff. If you look at the bottom of your screen, you see that there's really not a whole lot of ways to reset that Inferno, right? They do have the Zap, they've got the Freeze, but otherwise it's Royal Delivery or Fireball to reset. Not a lot of great ways to get that Inferno Dragon taken off the board. So a card that is really easy to keep at base sometimes can also be really, really kind of a pain to deal with if you don't have the correct cards. I mean, one E-Wiz can deal with a lot of those things. The spawning bats from the Night Witch, the reset of the Inferno Dragon. There's ways to help there, but they just didn't have the correct responses in this deck.
Yeah, and you saw the Royal Delivery going to the 3 battle healers and not getting that Inferno Dragon. So third stage of burn, King Tower goes almost all the way down. Easy finish there. 3 crowns for Buffmac, 3 crowns for Azealia, and 3 crowns for a lot of Fantasy Royale players out there as well, including yours truly here. So nice work there for Tribe in their opening game. And let's go ahead and get ready for game number 2. Another note here, Andrew, this Balloon Freeze deck has been so up and down throughout this tournament. It feels like it's or getting murdered. It seems like very specifically it's a deck that struggles matchup-wise, maybe more than other decks in 2v2. It's very polar.
Well, yeah, because we've seen this thing with the balloon. It's so easy to deal with. I mean, we're almost seeing buildings in probably 90% of our 2v2 decks. And let's hop into that second game here as we continue this thought. We're seeing buildings in like 90% of 2v2 decks. The snowball, the royal delivery is everywhere. There's just so many ways to keep the balloon at bay. And then even yesterday, we saw a moment where a balloon was just body blocked by a mega minion. It just delays that damage coming in. And when you're playing balloon as your win condition, you need massive blows. And speaking of massive blows, what is happening at the top left of our screen?
Wow. Okay. So you want to go cheap minor skeleton barrel to open up.
Wow.
And we'll see if they have. I mean, it looks like Liquid should have enough elixir on defense, but now double battle healer. If those 2 girls can survive, this could be devastating.
Oh, that's trouble. Yeah, one girl is still alive. Great cleanup there. And you called it, Rich. You said the battle healers have to go down, and just barely, just in time, did they?
Musketeer will get on tower. Easy early tower down for Team Liquid. So it was Tribe Gaming coming out hot in the opening moments. And then second game, Team Liquid goes, you can do that. We can go quick. And Elixir Golem worked once, might not work twice.
Yeah, and I love the cheap push, right? Minor Skelly Barrel plus Skellies, I believe, is all that was, and the tower was basically lost. So now you see Azealia's and Buff reloading the right-hand side because they can get that Princess Tower support. They also don't want to sacrifice their opponents, bringing in a bunch of damage on their opposite lanes, so they're going to... but Liquid did such a great job managing that push last time. We'll see if Tribe can break through now.
Well, Bomb Tower is certainly going to be more effective against a big Elixir Golem push. And notice the way they handled the Battle Healer, Andrew. Team Liquid, Canario and Surge going with Bats and Dark Goblin to not give that Battle Healer a chance to hit anything and do its healing. So good distance and aerial attack or aerial defense to keep her from activating that heal.
But look at that, bottom left-hand side, though, that Elixir Golem by itself took that tower down to about 235 HP. So a lot of trouble here for these 2 gentlemen.
Double Battle Healer with Golem in front. We'll see a Bomb Tower low, and let's see if they go with anything high poison. Again, that it's trying to make as little contact with the Battle Healer as possible. That's the name of the game, and you see Poison Delivery doing a great job of taking care of business in the right-hand lane.
Yeah, it's another one of those cards that kind of like, they talk about the Firecracker where you have to unlearn so many things that you've learned about Clash Royale along the way. That's another one of those cards that, like, you don't want to take it off the board, right? She does so much utility.
Battle Healer, 2 Baby Dragons, right-hand lane. Arrow, get the Dark Goblin off the board. Battle Healer so far not as effective this game as it was last.
And last
we're going into sudden death.
You mentioned that they got that triple Battle Healer down, and that becomes almost impossible to manage.
And now 2 Elixir Golems. This is going to be so hard. If they can defend this, it's opportunity for a huge counter push, and that delivery big with the Battle Healer staying on the board.
Yeah, Battle Healer's on the board. That Fireball missed the first one, but still staying alive, still keeping these pushes at bay, and now going back on the offense with double Skeleton Barrels. There's the Miner that comes in. An early Fireball, but that second Skelly Barrel does hit. And a big-time connection from the Ram Rider.
And this is what I was talking about, Andrew, with the defense against the Elixir Golem. Sure, they ended up losing that left-hand tower, but with how much traffic you can create in this game in 2v2, especially from a splash perspective, that Elixir Golem, if it fails, it's even more punishing than if it fails in 1v1 and head-to-head single-player play. So you see here, the Bomb Tower, the Royal Delivery drops, the addition of the Mega Knight and the Dark Prince, so much here that makes that Elixir Golem a liability.
Yeah, that's splash damage, right? And they also did such a good job with their spells, using the fireballs and picking and choosing what units they wanted to focus on with their spell damage. A lot of times it'd be things like double Baby Dragon plus Night Witch, or Battle Healer, Night Witch, Baby Dragon. They get all these units and clean them up and then deal with the Elixir Golem. And I think what they were struggling with in the first matchup was that they were dealing with the Elixir Golem and then the units behind it, instead of kind of letting the Elixir Golem do its thing and dealing with the big threat that's actually on the back end.
Yeah, well, the Inferno Tower was just going to be in a tough spot against Elixir Golem in the first place. And then and you were talking about getting to the support cards first. The way they dealt with battle healers in game number 2, using aerial attacks, using spells, using ranged troops, and not going head-to-head with battle healers. You saw even when they got 2 down, they couldn't really keep them on the board because they weren't letting them actually do their heals.
Yeah, they would really kind of focus their fire on one unit at a time when they were taking out the battle healers, because the moment you engage them, you need to make sure they're off the board as soon as possible, because we all know how they work. She starts swinging away. She starts healing everything. And again, in game number 1, 3 battle healers come down. It feels near impossible to turn that game around.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a brutal one. So we'll see if Tribe goes the same direction in game number 3. It feels like Liquid has a good read on it, so now we're getting into mind games. Does Tribe go the same direction? That deck that Liquid ran has some versatility, has some viability. If I'm Liquid, maybe I go with something similar to that, just in case Tribe decides to go super cheesy 3 times in a row.
I couldn't agree more, because honestly, that is the bluff that Tribe would pull out, right? Like, we've done it twice in a row. We dominated game 1. We got dominated in game 2. Who would think we'd run it 3 times? So I would love to see that. Here we go. Game number 3. Will Tribe run it back? And if they do, will Liquid call their bluff with the exact same splash damage that they had in game number 2?
Very excited. Let's jump on into the action here for game number 3. Again, the reminder, the bans, Giant Skeleton and Tornado. So you can see the happiness to go inside with the Miner from Tribe to open up, not worried about getting King Tower activations.
Yeah, and doing the correct thing by going inside and high instead of inside and low. We did see the King Tower activation with that inside low Miner and a Snowball before, one of our previous matches. And a Cannon Cart. We haven't seen a lot of Cannon Cart in this meta.
Yeah, not a ton. That's going to be really interesting. And P.E.K.K.A. and Prince in response. So, Cannon Cart Prince in the hand of Canario. And this Miner, notice how when he goes to the back, to the third tile, to the outside back tile, rather than the middle, just in case of that snowball you were talking about.
Yeah, and that's just top tier play there. You can't make those small mistakes. You don't want to allow that King Tower activation to come in that early on. We do see the zap there on top of the Dark Goblin, but that's just to get a little bit of cheeky chip damage. Prince in the back.
Prince catches the Miner easily and pretty healthy going opposite direction. Slight Elixir lead here for Bluff and Azeali's, but of course 5 Elixir on the playing field right now for Team Liquid.
And finally, we see the Wall Breakers come out here for Tribe Gaming.
What we haven't seen yet today, Andrew, is the double bait deck that was so popular yesterday.
Yeah, and we've actually seen that double bait deck pop up, I think, at least once every single match day. It's definitely had varied success, but I think one thing is for sure that when that deck is played correctly with your 2 players in synergy, great communication, it's very, very hard to beat.
Nice little heal spirit to protect the Goblin Brawler and force out the Ewas to respond to that Musketeer. Now Liquid finally gets Golem down with the Cannon Cart behind, right into a P.E.K.K.A. We'll see how that bridge battle fares. A little chip damage on the right-hand side from the Miner.
Yeah, and they're, other than that Royal Recruit, they're happy to get the Miner and both Wall Breakers that came down earlier. Now we're going to get a Magic Archer lineup. So Tribe and Azeali's, Tribe's Azeali's and Bookmat kind of punishing that right-hand lane just to make sure they can't really truly double down on this Golem push on the left.
Cannon Cart almost connects there. The Wall Breaker's tight, and now it's Tribe trying to do everything to keep these Cannon Carts off the tower. Miner defensively, Goblin Cage in front, and they do survive the worst of it.
Wow.
Man, that was close.
That was so close, and they still come out on top. If you're talking both towers here, they're still ahead at their top left tower at 1709. So that was really masterful defense, even though they were hanging on by a thread for most of it.
So it's been 2-tower games, or it's gone at least multiple towers every game so far. This one much more tightly contested as we go into sudden death overtime. It is Team Liquid behind, courtesy of the Miner play on the right-hand side. Magic Archer chip as well. Tribe Gaming, though, has to hold on here on the left-hand lane.
Yeah, they need something to push this back a little bit. There you see the high E was coming on top of those Inferno Dragons. Pekka, though, getting melted on the top left-hand side of your screen, selling out on the bottom right, Rich. Here we go, big-time bait push.
Miner bats wall breakers, and they can't get there in time. Tribe Gaming takes it in 3.
Huge hit, and finally, someone takes a game off of Tribe, but yet to take a falling in both their 2v2 sets. Tribe staying perfect through all 3 sets they've played.
Brilliant play, and you see that they were keeping track of the cycle and Elixir, and knew that there was so much invested on the left-hand side, had an easy opportunity to go in hard on the right, and as you said, Andrew, selling out in the right-hand lane. And that royal delivery just not quite fast enough in response. GG, well played. Those you keep in track, that's 5 crowns on the day for Azealia and Buffmac. You know,
and one thing I really like was that when that golem came down in the left-hand lane, the first golem was they started really light with their push on the right-hand side, right? It was a couple of wall breakers to feel out how they were going to defend. Then it was the miner to see how much chip they could get. Then, after that, they waited for almost a half beat while their opponents played a couple more units to support their golem. And they went all in on the right-hand side and really laid that damage down. So here we go. This is, I believe, the second golem push, and we see this great Magic Archer lineup here. The Zap comes down, the Heal Spirit comes down, Magic Archer still piercing, so the E-Wiz has to come down as well.
And yeah, you know, the wall breakers, Andrew, here a lot used by Tribe just for little kite purposes, for some distraction. You see there on the Prince, and then there's the complete sellout. Too low on Elixir. It's 3 to get that royal delivery down, and you can see as soon as they hit 3, they dropped it, but yeah. Good awareness of Elixir at that moment. Tribe Gaming capitalizes, and they go into the 1v1 with a very important advantage.
Yeah, and you know, you look at that push that was coming in on the left-hand side at the very end of the replay. That looked very similar to the first one that broke through, where Tribe was... They got by the skin of their teeth on defense. We're talking Dark Goblins to eat up cannon carts, you know, high Goblin cages last second, Miners on defense, all of that while they were between like 1 and 4 Elixir in each of their hands. That was a really masterful moment, because if they misplayed any of those defenses, that's when Liquid would have taken a tower.
Yeah, that's you know, you talk about the coordination, Andrew, right? And that's why you and I like 2v2 so much, is that requires that the two players are really communicating well, talking about, okay, how are we splitting? How are we actually putting these down in proper sequence? And you're able to spend the right amount and placement of Elixir on that defensive side, so you still have what you need for that great counter push on the right-hand lane. So Tribe Gaming, so far, 2-0 in sets in 2v2. Azealia and Buffmac, Andrew, not the 2v2 duo that many people expected coming into CRL West.
I know. I mean, Tribe had a lot to live up to coming into this season, whether it was 2v2, 1v1, if you're talking Buffmac, you're talking TNT or Jupiter King. And here we go, Egor versus Jupiter King. This is going to be an incredible 1v1. But just to finish that thought, is it just feels like Tribe has it completely pulled together in all facets of the game, like you mentioned at the top of the match. And I think what we just saw in 2v2 is no exception.
Let's go ahead, jump into possibly one of the most anticipated meetings of the season.
Yeah.
Egor coming off 5-0 from last weekend against the young star Jupiter King. This should be a great one.
I'm like giddy right now, man. I'm so excited.
I mean, talk about 5-win matches, Andrew. Of course, Egor's most famous, his 5-1 debut at CRL World Finals between the sweep of OGN Entis and, of course, the 2-0 over Javi 14. That's a nice 5-1 debut there, and then 5-0 last week. So we'll see if he has the same kind of magic in store. Of course, Team Liquid definitely needs him to come through here if they're going to have any shot of taking the win over Tribe Gaming.
Yeah, and you know, seen from Jupiter King over the last few months online, and even what we saw in their first match, there is so much promise and potential with this young, talented player, and I think Tribe did such a great job by changing around their roster in the offseason, and they truly have a top 1% team here. It's incredible.
Jupiter King went 23-10, 70% win rate in No Tilt League Special Edition. And keep an eye on Jupiter King. Egor, of course, brilliant in the way he plays both on both sides, offensively and defensively. Jupiter King, very similar. And look for some very creative and intelligent defensive plays out of Jupiter King if things start to move quickly.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about Jack, Expo Master, Jupiter King, Egor, Lapacati, these guys that are so good with cheap interactions, great positive elixir trades on defense, and that's the name of the game. When you're at that high of a level, you have to kind of throw your opponent off base by making those incredible trades.
So Egor, so far Skelly's fighter. Very interesting. We haven't seen a ton of Hog here this season.
And he held for a long time on that.
And Ice Golem, there's no way. Okay, Archers. All right, so it's probably going to be some version. Curious to see if the Earthquake is in here. So going Fireball, not Earthquake. So quick Hog cycle from Egor.
Yeah, and Jupiter looking like he could be running Graveyard.
Certainly a lot of the pieces there, Andrew. Giant,
and it's,
here we
I
go.
was going to say, it's Graveyard, could be Giant. We've also seen Giant Graveyard. Let's see what happens.
So what an interesting Hog cycle deck here. Lumberjack and Archers in the mix here. It looked like 2.6 for half a moment, which would have been absolutely insane at this level.
And there is the Graveyard getting tanked forward by that Goblin Brawler, and a big push here coming across the lane for Jupiter King. Giant should get in a couple swings, and those skeletons are lining up on the tower.
Log does clean it up at the end, but a significant chunk. If this Hog can get a shot, ranged up, one hit, doesn't get a second, 1541 to 1370. We're going to sudden death, and things are awfully, awfully close, Andrew.
And that was the perfect timing on the Giant. Got to the Elixir just in time. Night Witch actually sneaks up in front because the Night Witch was played too far back originally. Had to get something down to catch that Musketeer, but now you see with the units down at the river, Giant back in front, DPS behind.
Nice defensive sequence there from Egor, getting the Fireball down behind when the Ice Whiz popped to deal with that Night Witch and, of course, the Musketeer as well. And now Lumberjack, Hog Rider should be enough to help this Hog Rider break through for at least one shot.
Yeah, and there's no snowball in the hand here of Jupiter King as he used it earlier to get that little bit of chip damage in, so he takes those 2 Hog hits. And if I'm Jupiter King in the future, I've got to hold on to my snowball instead of going for this chip damage that he's going for. Now, maybe he does get some good damage on the tower here, but he's only got one way to slow that Hog.
Egor's management of the micro right now, Andrew, is beautiful. Just last second little catches to preserve things like that Musketeer, but it might be just a little bit too oppressive and double for him to keep up with this heavier deck. You see down to 413 on the right-hand lane.
Egor needs to get one more big Hog Rider hit in, and there you see a very nice high Ice Golem. Hog Rider behind. It is raged up. Goblin Cage to catch, but he needs a hit on that tower so he can start to spell cycle. That's the one luxury Jupiter doesn't have. Yeah.
Arrows come in. The Lumberjack's going to hold on for a moment, but now getting to the point where spells are going to be pretty close to doing it. Jupiter King
locks on.
Game number 1.
Wow, and as you said, the management of the micro there from Egor was basically perfect, but Jupiter kind of had his number. He figured out the way that he liked to cycle. He figured out what his cycle exactly was. Getting that snowball value in on the skeletons, on the archers, he ended up paying for it defensively a couple times, but he had that damage lead and was able to keep Egor at bay at the very end, which was really important.
Just a tough one there, Andrew, when this starts to get into double elixir, you know, Hog cycle against something heavier like this kind of big beat-downy Graveyard deck. You need a little bit more of an advantage in single elixir, and you know, this was kind of an in-the-middle Hog cycle deck with the Lumberjack being a little bit heavier than you would normally have in a fast cycle Hog Rider deck, and of course adding in the Archers as well. You know, usually you'd see Ice Spirit and Cannon in here, so a little bit slower, not a lot slower, but definitely not able to get around quickly enough in single to get the advantage.
You know, here we go. We're kind of taking a look here at Egor, who was playing very nice defense, and as you were talking about, putting things down at the very, very last second. So he actually has a really nice sequence here at the river, but it's also one of those moments where I think he kind of oversold on defending that Musketeer, because he drops 6 elixir to defend the Musketeer. Hog Rider doesn't break through. Hog Rider's played right into a Dark Prince and a Muskie by his opponent, and that felt like the moment where that misstep was a moment that he could not come back from.
Yeah, the arrows made this, I think, really difficult for him, Andrew. The Archers were a big part of the plan for defending Graveyard, but the Archers were essentially a null point when Graveyards came in. So Archer Skeletons both, you can't defend it that cheaply. You have a Lumberjack running around like a chicken with his head cut off, a Musketeer trying to keep up. Those arrows, I think, were a big factor in this match.
Well, the other thing that's interesting to me, and I'd love to talk to Egor about this, is running the deck that he was. Yes, it's a little heavier than 2.6, but he's until double elixir started, essentially. I think he dropped his Hog at like 107, you know, and that's one of the things that you wonder, because his opponent is clearly playing something heavier than you. I feel like if you're playing that Hog Rider deck and your opponent hasn't played a card all the way up to double, you have to assume their deck is a little heavier than yours. So you maybe need to try to get a little bit more damage or pressure in both lanes in single elixir.
You know, I'm wondering if the idea there, Andrew, with this Lumberjack, kind of the surprise factor with this Hog Cycle deck, if the idea was just punish him enough, he can take a tower in that minute between when double starts and the beginning and the end of regulation time and just kind of steal a game. I wonder if that was the concept.
I mean, it didn't seem that far-fetched, right? Because all he had was the Goblin Cage and the Snowball. Those are the only things that could really slow that Hog Rider down. So an interesting game one here, but let's hop into game two and see if Egor can bounce back or if Jupiter King is going to just stay perfect.
Jupiter King with match point for Tribe Gaming. You see your scoreboard there on the left-hand side of the screen. He has been phenomenal so far. Of course, both these guys have head-to-head right now for Egor. Overall this season at 71%. Very impressive.
Yeah, and if Liquid loses today, the best they can end up at is 2-2.
Well, the way things are going, Andrew, I think there's going to be a pretty big log jam in the middle no matter what happens.
Yeah.
So Egor looking like going to Icebow.
Icebow had a lot of success yesterday. But
could be going Royal Giant with the Mega Minion.
Yeah, Mega Minion, a bit of a swerve.
So both players taking their time this time as well. A little different version than last time. Last time we had the full 2-minute wait. This time it's just more of a cycle game right now, waiting for someone to blink.
Yeah, both these guys right now kind of feeling each other out. If they can, this is a moment where you recognize things you don't like about your cycle and try to fix it. So that when you do get into double elixir time, you know that you and your opponent are both going to turn up the heat, and you want your cycle to be where you need it to get those big blows.
Second time that Jupiter King has started that Prince way in the back. But of course, again, not able to get past the Skellies. The Ice Wiz now, and here comes the Royal Giant.
Ooh.
And that's nice timing on the RG from Egor.
Yeah, and that Tornado has to come out maybe a little earlier than Jupiter King would have liked, just because that Ice Wiz still had a lick of health. So you see this come in, really, really nice defense with the Skeletons, well-timed log, everything there kind of coming together for Jupiter, but he is actually behind in damage.
Double elixir time, and it is Egor who's taken the first big attempt at trying to break through, and still just some spell cycle early from these two players.
Yeah, now Jupiter probably going to hold on to that Prince because it is his highest single DPS card to wait for that Royal Giant to come down. So there's the Prince right up front. Probably going to see some Skeletons in a log soon. Nope, neither. He just decides to eat the damage, even up those towers.
And now it's his turn to go Royal Giant opposite direction, and you see a very similar idea from Egor logging it back. This is going to be a very interesting defensive battle, Andrew.
Yeah, I mean, we're basically in a mirror matchup here. We haven't seen Egor's last card, so very, very interesting. I love it.
That Ice Golem Skeletons from Egor was absolutely perfect. Look how far away he started that, not the Ice Golem, the Ice Spirit. Look how far away he started the Ice Spirit from the Prince. It got there just in time to pull it away from the Ice Wizard, and does just miss the Prince. This is going to be a connection here on the left-hand side, I believe, Andrew.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that was a perfect moment for you to be, defended well, but that was a great moment for you to be talking about what you were, because he missed the pull on that second one. Ice Wiz goes down, and you see that Egor has to kind of double defense, and now a little behind in Elixir because of that very small misstep in interactions.
So happy to use that Fireball, a little spell cycle on the left-hand side for Jupiter King. Royal Giants will connect in both lanes now.
Wow, yeah. And both of them supported.
Although the
Jupiter King coming out
to do a lot more for Jupiter.
Yeah, he is definitely on top here. And now, as you said, a match point situation. Egor behind by a lot. Jupiter King putting up the pressure. This is feeling tough for Liquid.
Doesn't connect, get the pull just at the right time. Ice Spirit trying to hold on. Skellies, will he log this one back again? Egor doing everything, stay alive here on the left-hand side. Fireball comes in, Royal Giant does it. That's going to be a GG, well played. One more Fireball will finish things off for Jupiter King, and Tribe's going to go 2-0 to start off this season.
Tribe looks unstoppable right now. The log will do it, and just like that, Not a set drop between two matches, an easy 4-0. And the only game they've lost is one game in the middle of 2v2 against Team Liquid.
What a brilliant, brilliant match between these two teams. I don't even, Andrew, I don't feel like the scoreline tells us how good this match actually was from top to bottom.
Oh, no way. I mean, this was an incredible back and forth. The matches here between Egor and Jupiter King were exactly what I expected and hoped them to be. The back and forth in that second match with essentially a mirror matchup to see who would outplay the other one. Just the Prince being the different card for Jupiter King there. And, oh, man, it's just... This is exactly what Tribe said they were going to do, and I don't know if anyone believed that they were going to be this good.
I mean, this is what everyone hoped, Andrew. I mean, Tribe definitely went out and made all the biggest free agent acquisitions of the offseason. Buffmac. Everyone wondered where he'd land. I know a lot of teams were vying for him. He ended up with Tribe. Azealia after leaving Queso. Like, where does he go after that big revitalization of his CRL career? And then, of course, bringing in Jupiter and TNT. I mean, this is what people wanted out of Tribe, and this is what they're delivering.
Well, I mean, I think at this point, it's very clear that after seeing Azealia's in the league as long as we have, and after watching his professional career as long as we have, him being a 2v2 star and a veteran of the game, and just that is more than enough for a squad. If you've got 4 slots, you can have that one guy be that slot. If you have the other players, the other 3 guys being Buffmac, TNT, and Jupiter King, your King of the Hill is on lock. Your 1v1, as we've seen by Jupiter, is unstoppable. I think Tribe has a golden roster and a real chance to take the West title.
Yeah, I mean, Tribe right now looking phenomenal. There's 2 teams right now that look like absolute world beaters, and that's Tribe and Space Station. Both of those look phenomenal at the moment. Of course, Tribe has only dropped 1 game through 9 over 2 matches right now. So absolutely insane. And, talking about, continuing the thought about Azealia's, you can't keep out the fact that Azealia's is also a phenomenal head-to-head player.
Yeah.
Put together 2 King of the Hill sweeps in the fall season for 2019. The guy can come out. So this is an unbelievably versatile roster, an unbelievably fluid roster. And I think the bigger story than Azealia's in 2v2 is Buffmac's move to 2v2. Can you imagine taking Buffmac out of 1v1 and being, hey, let's put you in the 2v2 set? Well, Sean Kim and Tribe Gaming did, and it's working beautifully right now for the Red Squad.
And I love seeing Azealia's and Buff go back and forth on Twitter. I love seeing their the camaraderie there between the 2 of them. I love that Buff is able to put his pride aside, knowing that he's literally top tier, S tier in 1v1 play, in head-to-head play, and he's playing 2v2, and he's doing it very, very well. And if you want to talk about Jupiter King, he didn't just 2-0 anybody, Egor and Anaban. So this is a squad that is ready to go. And I said at the very top of the day, they took the 2v2. Liquid still hasn't taken a 2v2. Neither is SK, neither is Queso. They've got to lock that down. And it feels crazy to be talking about 2v2 not being good enough when it was Canario and Surge that came out for Liquid.
Well, I mean, I think they just got caught completely off guard in game number 1. That Elixir Golem game, you don't expect Elixir Golem in 2v2. It makes absolutely, your mind goes, there's no way someone's going to do this. And they just got caught looking in game number 1. And then finally, game number 3, Tribe Game was able to secure it. So this was a great match, exactly what we had hoped for. And Team Liquid, I think, is still, of course, a top-tier team with a good chance of making playoffs.
Yeah, so here we go. Coming up next, SK Gaming and Team Queso are number 1 and 2 seed from Group B, both looking for their first win.
It's the top 5 plays from CRL West 2020, Week 1. Hopefully you didn't miss out on the live action from the opening weekend with literally the most upsets possible. But if you did, make sure you're subscribed to Esports Royale and click the notification bell because the action is only gonna get better. Our first play highlight is from Ruben of Team Queso versus Lapocati of Space Station Gaming. Despite Team Queso being the No Tilt League champions, Space Station Gaming has them on the ropes, and there's nothing Ruben can do about Lapocati's flying machine. Without Fireball or Poison, Lapocati just keeps getting insane value from his flying machine and eventually seals the victory with one last massive push. Up next is another huge upset where our world champions Team Liquid get bested by Cream Real Betis. Diego E and Ure really show their teamwork with their precise spell timing, helping their balloons connect to the towers of Diego B and Canario. Despite Team Liquid having multiple counters to the balloon, they are able to get their balloons to connect even when Team Liquid have their King Towers activated. Our next play highlight is another huge upset. Misfits Gaming, a team that quite honestly has not performed very well at all in past seasons, beats the former CRL West champions with a King of the Hill sweep by Wings. We see Wings with a giant graveyard deck, playing against Javi's Royal Giant deck. Wings plays an aggressive giant at the bridge graveyard combo, which Javi defends fairly well, taking considerable damage but also having a considerable counter push by stacking on his Royal Giant. Unfortunately, because Wings baited out Javi's Barbarian Barrel earlier, Javi has nothing to deal with Wings' skeleton army, which basically eats up his entire Royal Giant, Baby Dragon, minion push. Taking no damage and with an elixir advantage, Wings takes down Javi 14. And we're going to the very next game where Wings takes out Morten to secure his spot as King of the Hill. In this match, Morten plays a Baby Dragon on the opposite arena side that Wings has his Musketeer. Wings opts to ignore the Baby Dragon completely, which gives him a free 4 elixir to add to his giant graveyard push. Not only that, Morten has his Mega Knight land just a little too soon, and it focuses on the Giant instead of finishing off the Musketeer. This allows the Musketeer to gain so much value with not much health and eventually takes out Morten's tower, ultimately winning the match. And we're already at our last play highlight of the video, and this is our last upset victory. After having lost originally to Chivas Esports in the Clash Royale No Tilt League, Tribe Gaming returns to the arena for payback. Jupiter King takes on Anaban, and it's a close game. Jupiter King does very well to prevent Anaban's balloons from ever really connecting, constantly using his spells, archers, and goblin cages with great finesse. It's when Anaban opts to play a P.E.K.K.A at the bridge to obtain more value from his almost dead Lumberjack and Baby Dragon. Jupiter King counters with a perfectly placed Ice Golem, which takes Mama P.E.K.K.A on a hike across the entire arena. This play gives Jupiter King a huge elixir advantage, since it only took 2 elixir to deal with a 7 elixir P.E.K.K.A. It's inevitable, and after a couple more graveyard pushes, Jupiter King seals the 4-0 sweep against Chivas Esports. What an amazing opening weekend for CRL West. Who would have thought we would have seen so many epic upset victories? Is this just the opening weekend nerves affecting our top tier teams? Or should I start changing how I pick my CRL fantasy lineup?
Welcome back, match 2, and the final match of our weekend. And last one was, of course, a lot of fun. If it was quick, still exciting. Some of the best gameplay out of Jupiter King. I mean, unbelievable. The kid is correct. And coming up next, we have the defending CRL Western champions, SK Gaming, against the No Tilt League Special Edition champions, Team Queso. And Andrew, not a match win between these two squads yet.
It feels impossible that you're actually speaking the truth when you say that, when we're talking about SK Gaming and Team Queso. But it's true. That's where we're at. They've been really struggling in the 2v2. I'm curious if either squad is going to move things around. I think if you're SK, you kind of have to at this point. You're 0-2. You're about to maybe be 0-3, which is probably not going to get you to playoffs. So they need to make an adjustment. They need to do it right now, which is just, it's crazy to think that SK is basically halfway through our regular season and in kind of an elimination game.
Well, especially in their situation where in Group B you have Space Station at 3-0 and Misfits at 2-0, right? So in order for a 1-3 team to make it, you have to have 3 teams at 1-3. And this is interesting because if SSG and Misfits keep it up, you could end up in that situation. A 1-3 team might actually make it into that top 3 spots in the second group.
And that's what you want, right? If you're Team Queso and if you're SK, you're at the bottom of Group B, you want those top 2 guys to just keep going on runs, making the other squads that are closer to you have a more even record based on what you've got. So they're probably hoping that SSG continues their kind of reign of terror, but you know, that's someone else's job. That's not their job. What can SK2 do today to take down Team Queso? It's tough, man. I don't really have an answer because you know all these guys are great players, but they just can't seem to put it together in these matches.
Yeah, I mean, shockingly enough, the 2v2 hasn't been there yet. They struggled against Razor and Dip in their first match, and of course lost to AC and RF. Javi won 1 and lost 1. Beat Air Surfer, lost to Lapacati. And then, of course, the big blowout, the King of the Hill sweep from Wings that nobody saw coming in that moment, even though Wings is one of the best King of the Hill players of all time. So kind of a tough spot for SK. Back to the wall. Team Queso might have the advantage here just because they have a little bit less pressure on today's match.
I could not agree more. I'm so glad you said it. So here we go. Our number 1 and number 2 seeds at the beginning of the season, SK Gaming, going up against Team Queso at the end of today. One of these squads will finally have a W. Let's say hello to our blue squad.
SK Gaming, Javi Catorze, the head-to-head star. Morten and Sam, the longtime 2v2 duo for SK Gaming, and the CCGS World Champion Sergio Ramos, a powerhouse roster that needs to right the ship and right it quickly. SK Gaming has put a ton behind this squad, and they know that they are capable of greatness. The question is, can they put it together today against Team Queso?
Yeah, Team Queso with their all-star squad as well. Coming out for red today, we have got the cheesy ones. You know them, you love them. They've been with us since day one. Benihoo and Kuchiku with their new addition of IMJP, and of course their sophomore sensation, Ruben, who came out last season and really kind of started to build a name for himself on this competitive scene. We haven't seen IMJP play any head-to-head yet, which I'm very excited for. I'm wondering if that'll happen today or not. But yeah, Team Queso also struggling in that 2v2 set against AC and RF. And then again, like you said, Lapacati taking down Ruben in the 1v1. So I'm curious if there'll be an adjustment with Team Queso or if they're just going to stick with what they had and they thought they had a bad day.
Who knows? Team Queso has always been known to switch things up. And wow, here we go. Big changes on both sides. It's Javi Catorze and OP Sam as the 2v2 duo for SK. Ruben joining Kuchiku in the 2v2 for Queso.
Yeah, no, I'm going to need to get a check from the booth. Guys, is this the right graphic? I don't know if this is the right graphic. That's Javi Catorze in the 2v2. I'm shook. I mean, he played... Go ahead.
I mean, you almost expect if you put Javi and Sergio, who have so many hours playing together as the practice partners for Sam and Morten. Yes. So this isn't just a change, it's a massive change going with Javi and Sam as the 2v2 duo.
So here we go. Kuchi and Ruben, top of your screen from Team Queso. Bottom of your screen, Javi Catorze and OP Sam. And you know, Sam and Morten moved in together for this season to work on their 2v2. But now I imagine it's going to be Morten in the 1v1.
Yeah, I mean, that's the most likely option. And here we go. Healthy P.E.K.K.A with an who is behind. On the top for Team Queso. Trying to see if they can get that Big Mama P.E.K.K.A to tower. Poison trying to make a little bit of room. Not going to happen. Whoa, that
P.E.K.K.A's going to get a swing.
Will it be enough?
Oh, the zap comes in last second to stop that Big Mama swing coming through.
First minute away, and so far it's been the pressure by Team Queso, giving a slight lead, 21-26 on the right-hand side.
So Javi's played 92 head-to-head games. He's played 17 2v2 games.
And A little bit here and there, of course, some in that first season, but he was mostly a 1v1 player. Most of that came in the spring with Fnatic.
Yeah, and then of course they had those couple matches last season when SK they did it more for fun because it felt like they had things locked down.
Prince catches the Lumberjack left-hand side. 10 now going to 12 Elixir for Team Queso at the moment, and very similar on the SK Gaming side. As we pass the midway point of regulation, it is now pretty close, 2086 top left-hand corner, 1958 bottom right-hand side.
So here we go, Team Queso loading up on the backside here, probably starting to try to build this big downhill push behind the Mega Knight.
Ruben actually has the best win rate in 2v2 of all 4 players in this set. 8-4 in games last season for a 67 win rate, 3-2 overall in sets.
Yeah, Ruben really showing that he was kind of great all the way across the board, but I think the thing with him is we really need to find his specialty, and I think if he wants to become a 2v2 specialist with King of the Hill being on the back end, I really support that, because I really love what he does in 2v2.
Ram Rider left-hand side, Pekka way up in front. Prince and Musketeer to try to meet, and a nice lightning does not get the Musketeer off the board, though.
Yeah, that's a bit of a miss there on that, missing the Musketeer. You get the stop charge on the Prince, you get a little Princess Tower damage in, but you really want to take that Musketeer off the board. As you can see, she's very healthy and now a part of this counter push.
And Bats being tanked for here. Archer's not looking at those for a while, so good damage in both lanes for SK Gaming. As we approach double Elixir time, they have roared back into the lead.
Yeah, they're doing a great job at keeping up dual lane and cheap but effective onslaughts offensively, whether it's Miner Bats, Miner plus Spear Goblins, Miner Bats plus the Wall Breakers. They're cheap, but they're doing the work.
A lot of heavy, a lot of tank killing in the deck here of Team Queso. Mama, Pekka, Mega Knight, and Lumberjack, of course, can rip stuff down. We'll see. This might be a connection if they can get past this Goblin Cage on the left-hand side. That's a raged up Ram Rider. Beautiful defense by SK.
Yeah, they needed just a little bit more to send in on that. Pekka does not connect once again on the bottom right-hand side. So talk about beautiful defense. Their timing is so on point right now.
Miner picked up by the Mega Knight in the back, still a significant amount of damage. Mega Knight, though, not going to be distracted here, and that's a lot of wall breakers all going into one big chunk of defense.
Yeah, this could be a lot of trouble for Javi and Sam. That was a lot of Elixir spent on basically nothing, so now they're going to have to poison it on defense, drop that Royal Recruit up high, and still deal with a very healthy Mega Knight.
And they are up to the task, but keep an eye out, Andrew. They are significantly behind on Elixir.
He was high. Dark Prince turns around. They know they need to stop all those swarm units on the top. 652 to 1592.
And notice only one big spell offensively in the hand of SK Gaming in the form of the poison. So it's going to be harder for them to play in a spell cycle situation if necessary. Final 30 seconds. This is the big moment for Team Queso. Can they steal this one back with just 25 left?
I don't know how I feel about that Miner going the left-hand side. We'll see if it actually ends up paying off here. It does bait out a bit of Elixir, so now they can send a Miner into the right. Now, maybe able to get a poison down, or are they going to hold?
We'll see if they can. They're going to hold on. Mega Knight, E-Wiz, Ram Rider trying to break through. Poison does come down just to make a little bit more distance. Lightning trying to do enough, but can't do it. And that's going to be game number 1 for SK. The switch-up works. Sam and Javi take their first win as a pair.
I like that, and I like what we saw. That was a great back and forth. It wasn't that Sam and Javi came out and got lucky with a matchup or got lucky with a misplay. Played a great few minutes there against Kuchi and Ruben. I loved it. I loved the defense throughout. I thought they played it very efficiently, and even at the end there when they sent that Miner to the left, it was just enough pressure to bait out enough Elixir so they could go back in on the right. And I don't know. I'm happy to see this duo coming out on top.
Yeah, I mean, their defense was good. You had the one double push with the wall breakers on the right-hand side, but you're late in the game. It is only 4 Elixir total, 2 from each hands, and that seemed like that was the chance for Ruben and Kuchi to break on through. Then they go the opposite direction, run into a Goblin Cage, Royal Delivery, Prince, E-Wiz behind to stun. A lot of DPS, not to mention the use of the log repeatedly, just barely able to save some of those big hits. Javi and Sam looking good in their first outing as a duo.
Yeah, you know, and they had a lot of tankage on the ground without having the big-time Mega Knight plus P.E.K.K.A combination. But the thing about it was they were able to keep those units kind of stunned long enough, whether it was the Log or the Royal Delivery coming in and soaking up a shot with the shield, or of course the E-Wiz on the back end, that all of that just made it so tough to get the P.E.K.K.A and Mega Knight as far across the river as you'd like. And then you think about trying to get the Ram Rider through after that, and it became near impossible by the defense that Sam and I wanted to say Morten, Sam and Javi played.
Yeah, I know your brain kind of broke. Sam and Morten, right? That's the thing that you say. No, today it's Sam and Javi. And out to a good start so far, 1-0 on their career as a duo together. We'll see what Team Queso has in store for them in game number 2. Ruben and Kuchi have played a little bit together, of course, since Ruben mixed into the 2v2 a fair bit last season, but this is what Team Queso does. They rotate their lineup consistently. They've always done it all the way back to the fall season in 2018 for CRL EU. And the question is, how many of these duos actually have the chemistry that make it work at this top level?
Yeah, well, one thing to take into consideration about SK is, when you and I sat down with Sam and Morten last season, we kind of picked their brains about how do you guys always know what to do? How do you guys always have the best decisions? And they go, look, we look at the elixir, we look at each other's hands, and we both know what the best interaction to make is out of all the cards available. And we expect our teammate to make that decision, right? So yes, Javi and Sam maybe haven't practiced together as much, but maybe that idea of the mentality of, look, these are the 8 cards available. This is the best response. You've got to play it. Maybe covers that language barrier and also maybe covers that amount of practice time together that Sam and Morten have had.
Yeah, keep in mind that Kuchi and Ruben are sitting next to each other at the Team Queso house. As far as I know, Javi has not joined Sam and Morten in Germany. I could be wrong, but they're playing with a little bit of latency, playing a distance from each other. So maybe some drag to signal as well is being used here.
Yeah, drag signaling in 2v2, very, very important.
This is a big push left hand.
Yeah, and Lumberjack sneaks up in front, which is not what Javi and Sam wanted. Now everything's going to get raged up.
Balloon does not connect, but death damage will get in left-hand side. 22:06 as the first minute 10 passes.
Really nice fireball value there. Archer helps clean everything up for 100% mitigated damage. Kuchi and Ruben in a good spot. Down by just a couple elixir, though.
So minor wall breakers for SK Gaming. And these wall breakers not going to connect. Oh. Arrow's doing a good job with that.
So Javi and Sam having just a little bit of an elixir lead. We'll see if they put something big in the back or if they decide to wait on their opponents.
So Miner trying to hold that Mega Minion in the back. You see Zap now out. Here is when and how do Javi and Sam take advantage of those small spells being out of cycle.
And you see here, Kuchi and Ruben have a lot of great responses to those wall breakers coming through, whether it's the skeletons, the zap, the arrows, the heal spirit, or of course that Mega Knight dropping down on top and getting a good counter push.
Lumberjack goes for the pickup up front. Instead, Miner goes to the back, and that's a double connection left-hand side.
And that's when you try to get a little too cheeky, right? Instead of just doing what they should have, they try to go skeletons instead, save a little bit of elixir, hope the Lumberjack got back around, and the Icewind would do just enough slowing, but not the case. Big-time connection.
Final 30 seconds of regulation. It is SK Gaming ahead by a few hundred HP in both lanes.
Wow, Musketeer connects top right for 3 shots.
Kuchi and Ruben setting up on the right-hand side. Inferno Dragon and Mega Knight. Gonna have to find somebody to deal with this Prince Wallbreaker push on the left-hand side. Arrows will be sufficient.
Arrows plus that great skeletons to eat up that charge from the Prince. Lumberjack comes in and makes easy work.
Miner goes right to the Musketeer, and the freeze is in. This is a big moment for Team Queso.
Yeah, Royal Delivery down. EU is down as well. So much stunning on the board.
Wallbreaker barely misses connecting, but now it's Sam and Javi having to do a little bit of kiting here to keep that Inferno Dragon from connecting. Final minute 30 approaching, and it feels like Team Queso is starting to get a little bit of rhythm.
Yeah, Team Queso here coming back just a bit, closing that gap, narrowing it if you will, but SK trying to keep their lead with that poison coming in. Another big push on the right-hand side. You have to expect a Miner, you have to expect a freeze. How are they going to defend?
Miner gets in, Freeze takes care of the Musketeer. This balloon looks like it will connect. Ewiz comes in late.
It's late, and the balloon gets just the one drop with the zap coming in. Wow, now Team Queso in the lead.
Miner to the back on the right-hand side, wall breakers left. Skeletons should be enough. What does not connect?
Big time wall breaker connection on the right-hand side. There's the poison. Miner hit, not gonna connect. They need that zap. Where's the zap? There it is.
Javi and Sam coming out, doing it in style. A clean 2-0, and finally SK Gaming wins the opening set.
Wow, who would have thought that it'd be Javi and Sam to pick up the first 2v2 for SK, but, you know, we said it before, it feels like now that means Morten is going to be in the head-to-head play, and you talk about a guy that has been, you know, he's been revered as one of the best 2v2 players and head-to-head players for so long. I'm excited to see him come out today.
Yeah, this is going to be really, really compelling, Andrew, and talking about two guys who are excited to see in head-to-head play, you gotta assume that for Team Queso, it's gonna be IMJP. We'll talk about that matchup more in a minute. Let's go back and take a look at some of the action from this last 2v2 game. Javi and Sam looking really good together. It seemed for a moment like Ruben and Kuchi might be able to steal it, but there was this big connection on the right-hand side, Andrew.
Yeah, I mean, it was just both of these games, they had so much stun and reset ability, but this was the one sequence where they could not get things down in time. You called it on air. The Ewiz came down very, very late. There he is. Bomb goes off, cleans him off the map, but that's after a big, big time balloon drop, and that balloon must have been a millisecond away from getting the second drop down. You know, the zap came in from Javi and Sam to stop it, but that was about as close as it can get. And then you see here, Miner takes the tower in the final seconds while that balloon is cruising on through in the bottom right. That was very, very close for Javi and Sam.
Well, you see that wall breaker connection at the end, Andrew. That's the second time in that match where the timing on the Miner was able to turn the archers the wrong direction, turn them away from those wall breakers. So twice there, maybe the archers played a half step in, a half step low, or a half step early, and the Miner picks them up. Wall breakers slide on through, get on tower, and that sequence worked out very well for SK Gaming. Now they go into 1v1 with an advantage, and with one of the greatest competitive players of all time in Morten, most likely stepping up into this best of three.
Yeah, I mean, Javi and Sam just kept threading that needle time and time again with the wall breakers breaking through. I mean, yes, they got defended, you know, over half the time, probably 75% of the time, but you only need them to break through that little bit, and it would happen time and time again, even if it was just one or at the end when both connected. That becomes devastating to deal with, and the biggest thing about it is all of a sudden, if you're the ones defending, you have to change your focus and start focusing on the other lane. So here we go. We're going to see it, man. It's going to be Morten and IMJP.
This is going to be interesting. IMJP back in head-to-head play in CRL West. Let's go ahead and jump on into it. The golden-haired golden boy from Barcelona, Spain, top of your screen. And Morten down at the bottom. Morten, of course, having one of the top lifetime win rates in head-to-head play in CRL. Career 65% in CRL head-to-head 1v1 and King of the Hill play.
Yeah, and, you know, getting close to 1.5 million cards won. Loses by 1 HP at World Finals, and you know he wants this.
So slow playing to start things out. R-barrel cycle for JP, who took some time away from the West, went and played with Kicks in CRL Asia last fall. Had a pretty good time over there, some pretty solid performances, especially later in the season. Happy to be back with this all-Spanish squad, though.
Yeah, I'm happy to have him back in the West. I'm happy to be back casting his matches, and I'm also happy that you said golden hair, golden boy, because I wasn't going to say it until you did, because I know you coined that years ago, and I just couldn't do that to you.
It is pretty special to my heart, gotta admit. Dark Prince comes across, and Dark Prince Baby Dragon to say bye-bye to the Night Witch. Is JP going to double down on this one? Still at the bridge in the safe spot. And there you go, Graveyard in.
You call it, and I think that Morten had a feeling it was coming. He plays those skeletons early, but I wish he would have played the skeletons a little farther back because they get eaten up by that Baby Dragon Splash. And a ton of damage comes in, but a very high poison here to help clean up the counter push coming from Morten. JP comes out with a huge haymaker to start this game.
And Haymaker's a great term, Andrew. We talked about this back in the CRL EU days. JP is a big hit player. There are certain players who go for big moments and are pressure guys, go for the kill, and JP is a go for the kill kind of guy. He's going to get this tower down. The big question now is, how does he defend this massive golem push that's going to come on the left-hand side?
I'll be honest, I'm pretty sure that Dark Prince came down at the exact same second as the golem, so I don't think he was even going in for the kill yet. But the Dark Prince, I think he was doubling down on that Ice Wiz push, as you were talking about how aggressive he can get, and now has a lot to deal with in this left-hand lane. Not sure if he's going to be able to, though. I think that Dark Prince might have been a bit of an overcommit.
2 princes on the board. That's going to be the really hard part here. 2 baby dragons trying to defend. This is going to be tower down left-hand side, and still has more to clean up.
Yeah, and he needs to drop more elixir into it. You see right there, the bar barrel comes down. Now got to tank for those baby dragons just a little bit. Morten does the correct thing. He resets towards his princess tower and is ready to keep going on offense.
I mean, at this stage in the game, we're in double elixir, we're in a 2-tower game, and you talk about who has the advantage once the king tower is alive. Well, Golem certainly has a pretty significant advantage over Graveyard, so it's going to be tough going here for JP in the remaining 2 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's what I was saying earlier. I think that Dark Prince came down at the exact same second as the Golem and obviously gave him that right-hand tower, but it's 4 less elixir to defend, and he really needed some help on the defensive side, so much so that Morten was able to drop that Lightning in to just kind of close things out.
And Lightning with a little bit more clearage on the offense for Morten. And still, he has so much on the board, way ahead on elixir, just a baby dragon down for JP. This is just an absolute shellacking here. This might be a 3-crown.
And that pullback, that NATO actually pulled the Prince far enough back to get a charge in because it got tanked for by the Golemites again. So JP doing absolutely everything he can to mitigate damage, but almost helping his opponent out in moments when he doesn't mean to.
Golem down one more time for Morten.
And that hurts, man. It really does. When you're just hurting for elixir and you see your opponent drop another Golem in the same lane that he's been going towards, and you have not done basically anything that resembles offense in overtime.
Baby Dragon gone. Night Witch, Prince, Baby Dragon behind the Golem here for Morten. He is pushing hard for this 3-crown. Not taking his foot off the gas at all. This is the right thing to do. A second Night Witch down. Final 30 seconds.
Right, because what's the worst case scenario here, man, is that he ends up winning the draw. He takes the 3-crown because they need it. SK needs as many crowns as they can get, and Morten has the correct idea, but I don't think he's going to be able to get there with only 20 seconds left.
Lightning trying to make a little bit more room. Maybe he goes in with the Prince here. Does have to defend this Graveyard. Wow. And a nice attempt here from JP.
Yeah, nice attempt from JP. Morten read him like a book, though. He drops that Prince right on top of the Dark Prince. JP gets a little bit of damage there in the end and makes it closer than it seemed throughout, but Morten takes game number 1.
Man, that could have gone south for Morten very, very quickly. Just able to keep that Dark taking just a little bit longer. You saw the Bar Barrel trying to pick up the tankage from the King Tower as well. JP with a creative attempt that nearly threw cold water on the party of Morten.
And that was one of those moments that I adore about Morten's play. You saw the Prince come down before the Dark Prince. He saw the Graveyard. He goes 5 steps ahead of his opponent. And he goes, all right, if he's going to do this, then this is definitely the only other move he can play. Prince comes down to tank for that Dark Prince, so the Dark Prince isn't able to tank for the Graveyard. And I think that's the only reason that tower stayed alive at the end.
Just an absolutely wild play, and we have to go all the way back to that pressure Dark Prince, the one to take the tower on the right-hand side, and you know what, you have to basically kill range on that right-hand lane. You know, it's not quite spell cycle range, but it's certainly, and I think this is the exact moment, Andrew, you talked about the Dark Prince in front of the Ice Wiz, and look at how low already JP is behind on elixir when that Dark Prince drops.
And he has the tower, right? That's what you're saying, essentially, is he's already got that tower down to like 400-something HP. He doesn't need to commit and double down to support that Ice Wizard. He needs to just defend. He needs to support the defense here. And you can see that Morten is able to drop in that Lightning, and then it's 2 Princes, 2 Baby Dragons, Golemites moving down the lane. And from that moment on, JP was in a world of hurt. And it all came from that same thing we talked about back in 2018. He's a boom or bust player. He goes for these big hits. That was a massive haymaker. You know, that we talked about it. The first play, beautiful play. He did not need to support that Ice Whiz, and that's why he was not able to defend. I don't know if he would have stopped the defense on the right. I don't know if he would have actually stopped that golem push, but he would have had a better chance for sure.
Yeah, and you're not going to win a 2-tower game graveyard against golem like that. It's just not going to happen. So a tough one in the rear view, but now you got to get ready for game number 2. And Morten playing with a game in hand is certainly something that I wouldn't want to be trying to face JP.
Yeah, now it becomes this idea of if your team Queso, which does have an incredible support squad, what do you put Morten on? You know, like, yes, we know that we've seen him do a lot of minor wall breakers in the offseason at World Finals, but now in the situation of running Golem and doing it very successfully, it's going to be really hard to pin a deck on Morten.
We'll see. Let's jump into game number 2. Morten with one in hand. Match point for SK, a potential 4-game sweep.
Yeah, very, very quick one here to get to 3 blue crowns on the left side of your screen.
And Morten maybe going something spammy here with the Royal Ghost. 3M, okay. So maybe 3M Royal Hogs. And if I was going to say, if there's one thing that you might want to put Morten on, it'd be Piggies.
Yeah, and it looks like here JP could be running Ice Bow, so this could be a lot of trouble. Morten already calls good game, and he knows why. And we both know why as well, Rich. He does not have a big spell to take the Ice Bow, or excuse me, the X-Bow and the Tesla off the board regularly.
He's going in hard, but the Tesla, of course, will pick up those Piggies. And a nice log, though. This is a little bit of a battle here. This overall should be for JP, but Morten able to take advantage early. If he can get enough of an advantage early on, he might be able to steal this one.
Yeah, this is still really, really tough, and I love the log coming in from Morten there to create a little bit of room. JP, though, responds with a log in kind, takes the Musketeer off the board, and that was Morten's chance to bring that tower well below 1,000 HP.
Royal Ghost cycles to the right-hand lane. First 90 seconds passed.
This is going to be
and
a
JP
very,
set
very
the first defensive expo.
Tough couple minutes here for Morten. Maybe a late Tesla now? Oh,
not going to worry about it. He's dealt with pretty well.
Yeah. A little bit of splash, though, coming in here from the Hunter, and now log out of cycle. Morten going to do whatever he can to take advantage of that, but not going to be a lot.
Yeah, this is the phase in the game, and now as the deeper we get towards triple elixir, the harder it's going to get on Morten's side. So he needs to take advantages of this next 2 minutes the best that he can, and hope he can create enough of a lead that the rocket cycle can't take it back.
Yeah, and that's what he needs to do. He needs to keep up enough pressure and play these interactions well enough and stop counter pushes so that his opponent does not get a big enough elixir lead to play these buildings comfortably and start rocket cycling out.
You know, Andrew, the big question for me is at what point are we going to see Ice Bow versus Ice Bow? It feels like it has to happen at some stage.
I can't wait for that matchup.
So, easy NATO rocket for JP to clean up the 3 Musketeers, and should see something like that happen consistently. The big question for JP in terms of taking advantage is, will he ever be able to NATO without the rocket for those 3M and take care of them a little bit more cheaply? We'll see if this might be an example here.
Yeah, he's trying to do it. You know that he needs to get at least 2 rockets down to take that lead, so now he's going to start getting much more creative in how he wants to defend these, and there it is. There's the first rocket cycle coming down. He does min-max it and take a couple shots on the left-hand side, but that's exactly the right idea here for IMJP.
And there you go, the high 3 Musketeers trying to get that Tesla off the board and maybe bait out the rocket before so the Piggies can go in, and there you go, Piggies behind. Will there be enough on defense?
Not enough elixir to get that rocket down, so really, really nicely played that by Morten. That heal spirit comes in, Rich. That's going to do it. That is going to do it.
That's how you get it done. Morten. Beautiful, beautiful. The aggressive high 3 Musketeers get the Tesla out, and JP not able to respond quickly enough. And that's what Morten had to do. He had to win before triple elixir. He did it, and there you go. SK Gaming with a clean 4-0 on the day.
What a god. That is all I can say with that matchup. Look at that. no spell. I mean, he's got a log. He's got a freaking log, and that's all he's got to get an Expo Tesla off the board and deal with the rocket cycle, and he does exactly what you need to do. Start picking apart how your opponent likes to defend. Okay, he's going to NATO rocket. He's going to NATO rocket, NATO rocket. Now he's just going to NATO and try to get a little clever. So that means the rocket's in a different part of the cycle. So Morten recognizes that, puts up the pressure, knows where JP's at elixir-wise, and he dumps in what yesterday we saw was a massive trade of Royal Hogs plus Musketeers that went down to a rocket. This time he knew JP did not have enough elixir to get that rocket back down. That was so masterfully played by the German.
Yeah, the high Tesla here, and the Musketeers do just enough. The NATO not quite in time. And at that stage, yeah, trying to play catch-up here, not going to be enough for JP, and Morten just puts the pressure on. Piggies come out, they get it done. Morten winning with his favorite card, and a huge one here. Not just a win, Andrew, a 4-game sweep for SK Gaming.
And that's exactly what they needed to get back in rhythm to where they want to close the season out. Yes, they can still make playoffs in Group B, and especially with a big-time win like that, taking the lead over Team Queso, who is now at 0-2. And in a tough spot to be in. Team Queso did not have a great showing today against a team that's already had a rough season. SK has not had a great season so far, but what we saw today with the switch-up, Morten going to 1v1, Javi going to 2v2 with Sam, it worked masterfully.
Javi and Sam had a great outing in 2v2, and then you set up one of the top competitive players in the world, a guy who I've said before many times, my vote for the MVP of CRL for 3 seasons collectively for EU and two splits of West in 2019, and you see why right there. Just beautiful play from Morten.
And the thing is, too, about Morten is there's nothing to not love about this guy. He's incredibly humble. He's a hard worker. He's very nice to be around. He's very supportive of his teammates. And even when he loses, you can see that he just wants to get better. And that's all he's done for the 3 years we've watched him play is get better and better and better. Let's take a look here at the standings.
And we'll jump on into it. And man, what a crazy weekend it's been. Tribe Gaming 2-0. Dignitas 2-0. Down at the bottom, Chivas Esports has to hope that Cream Rail, Betis, and Liquid both go 1-3, and then they get some favors in the matchup situation. Going to be some crazy math to get Chivas in if they can win. But right now, it's Tribe looking like the leaders in Group A, and then Dignitas at 2-0.
Yeah, and I love it. Dignitas, the first team picked in that draft, deciding that they were the lowest seed, coming out and showing that people were underestimating them. And on the other side of it, we talk about that draft. We talk about how the groups were set up. Space Station Gaming, the second to last pick here in first place at 3-0. Misfits, the second pick in Group B at 2-0. SK Gaming, obviously the favorite. Former champions finally get that first win. Pain Gaming, they were the lowest seed in Group B. They have not picked up a win yet. And Team Queso, the highest seed other than SK, still without a win. So this has just been crazy. And again, it's because of this World Cup style format that we talk about, only having 4 matches before you go to playoffs. Anything can happen.
And that next matchup between SK and Pain, that's going to be a big one. That's an elimination game for Pain, potentially. But that's going to be against Queso first. SK's next match is against Pain next weekend. The 2 leaders in Group A, Dig and Tribe, trying to give each other their first loss, and then Team Queso and Pain both fighting to stay relevant. Both at 0-2, both, win to really stay in the mix. And then Sunday, Andrew, some more great ones.
Yeah, Chivas has to win against CRB. They need them to drop down. They need to pick up at least 1 victory if they even dream of going to playoffs. And following that, Space Station Gaming and Misfits facing off, both squads undefeated. Cannot wait to see next week's matches. Remember, 10 a.m. on the West, 1 p.m. on the East. That's how you guys are going to find us.
Yeah, next weekend, Andrew, we'll be left with just 2 undefeated teams, 1 in Group A and 1 in Group B. It's going to be fascinating, especially for Space Station, who this will be their 4th game, or their 4th match. Space Station will have a chance to clinch that number 1 spot and a first-round bye in playoffs.
Yeah, and guys, did you miss the action today? Because it went by like that. That's what happens when you have set sweeps on both sides of the matches. So you got to subscribe and you got to turn on those notifications. I know you're here hanging out on YouTube, so turn on those notifications because you don't want to miss the matches. That match was so fast. You blink, you might miss it. So turn those on. And also, you guys can follow us on Twitter at Esports Royale EN. You can follow me at Andrew Guy. You can follow Rich over there at Rich Slayton. We love to do polls on our match days. We also love to interact with the community. So, add us. Just be nice. And lastly, Fantasy Royale. How'd you do, Rich? I feel like you did pretty well today based off what you were telling me before, but make sure you set your lineups between Tuesday and Saturday morning before we go live. 1,000 gems on the line. The 4 best players with the most crowns at the end of the season will get you the chance to win that 1,000 gems. So make sure you set those lineups and make sure you save your lineups like I didn't. So yeah, hurting in Fantasy Royale this week.
Yeah, I had a boom and bust day today as well. Thanks, Buffmac, for the help there on my side. Guys, this has been another great weekend. Of course, we are now past the midway point of our group stage, and every single thing is going to be absolutely crazy. Andrew, any thoughts, any predictions? Do you think that Space Station, what's their chances of securing that first place spot next weekend?
I think it's pretty good. I really want to see one squad go perfect throughout this, and I think it's either going to be Space Station or Tribe at this point. Both those squads have played perfect Clash Royale throughout. I know that anything can happen on any given day, but those are probably my 2 picks for a perfect season.
So make sure you're back here next weekend, 10 a.m. in the West, 1 p.m. in the East, 7 p.m. Central European Summertime. I'm Rich Slayton. That's Andrew Guy. We will see you next weekend. I'm going to go get a sandwich.